Before he knows it, he is standing on the threshold. This room is filled with a thick, vicious darkness, just like every other room that he's passed. There's more than just darkness, however. Something is there. You can hear pain breathing, like that of a wounded animal, and what sounds like sobbing. Sobbing?
誰だ
Koji whispers in the darkness. Well, that's a different expression there. Now that he's given away his position, he might as well turn on his light. For some reason, however, Koji feels that to do so would have disastrous consequences. And it will. The last time I heard her voice on the phone, she was sobbing. The wheezing suddenly stops. And then...
Koji!
She can... Oh yeah, I guess she would still... She is able to talk after all. Whisper came out of the darkness, though not a human voice. Not by any measure. Speaks some blasphemous semblance of human words. A nightmarish flash of insight connects the dots in Koji's mind.
つくば
It can't be. Yo doesn't sound like this. She doesn't smell like this.
koji! お願い殺して
But if it's not Yo, then how does it know his name? Why is it begging him for help? No, it can't be Yo. She's human and not some creature that slithers and hides in the shadows.
痛いの苦しいのこの体
Just put her out of her misery, man.
助けてkoji!
It's like, don't even, flash light on her. Just shoot in her direction. End this nightmare for her. Thing wriggles closer. His reason cries out, imploring him to switch the light on before it's too late, or to turn and run if he cannot. But Koji is unable to make either choice. He can only call out in vain to the amorphous shape in the
つ
darkness.
くばなのか直江まさかつくばなのか
しなさいもうお願い殺して
Something soft and slimy strides over Koji's toes. Instinct overrides his will, forcing him to turn on his light and shine it at his feet. The white beam reveals everything, the merciless truth that finally shatters Koji's sanity. Terror wipes his mind of all but two words, gun and trigger. His finger responds with instant obedience. There's an explosion of light and sound, both more intense than he anticipated, and the destruction forces are swelled up by the darkness. His ears are still ringing from the bang, but he hears a weak voice coming from the shadows. Was it not a fatal shot? He's gonna waste all of his bullets on her. Koji screams and pulls the trigger again and again, certain that salvation can come only from the barrel of his gun. Light and darkness, explosion and silence, they dance before him 3 more times. Koji doesn't even need to aim, the horrible creature is right at his feet, far too close to miss. Ryoko warned him how many bullets were left in the gun, but that information has already been driven from his mind. Even after the cold, heavy gloom wrapped itself around him once more, Koji keeps pulling the trigger like a man possessed, now heeds the clicking of the empty weapon. Wait, so I also said that, the body would just regenerate, so that's probably the same with Sai, so can they even be killed at this point? If so, going back to when we were finding out, guys, diary, you're the damn Mary Sue, you're just like, you're unkillable, you're just too good at things. It's just like, I hate that. It's like, you gotta have some form of weakness, man. This is bullshit. His manic string of legs suddenly give out, sending him down hard on his backside. Did I read the previous bit? You pull the trigger like a man possessed, pay no heed to the clicking of the empty weapon. His panic string of legs suddenly give out, sending him down hard on his backside. Even then, he keeps firing the empty gun. Knows no other way to erase the memory of the thing that he glimpsed in the beam of his flashlight. I mean, he's gonna be open for attack. He's just gonna come in with the axe, and that'll be the end of him. The light which fell from his hand during the attack is now pointing in a different direction. Though all 4 bullets must have hit their targets, they were Koji's last card to play. Which leaves him alone in the darkness with no way to defend himself, and just as he realizes, Massive rotting flesh rolls over him like a tidal wave. She's saying in Japanese, it die, it hurts. But it sounds like in English, it'd be like, you die. He can no longer even scream as the thing pushes him onto his back. Fierce in his throat in an iron grip, Koji struggles desperately against the monster that crawls up his body towards his face. Covering his face with his left hand, he ambles wildly along the floor, with his right searching for a way out that doesn't exist. His mind is that of a feral animal, empty of everything but primal terror. That is why, when his right hand closes around something hard at the last moment, he recognizes it instinctively as a weapon. Putting every ounce of strength into his arm, Koji swings the heavy object at the creature on top of him. He hears the thud of a blunt object striking something soft and wet, and then Koji's attacker rolls off him. As soon as he is able to move again, Koji leaps to his feet and grabs his new weapon with both hands. Brands it like a charm to ward off evil. Only now does he realize that he's holding a rusty steel pipe. Well, you did ask him to kill you. The monster is still sobbing. A cry that is part scream, part roar, Koji raises the steel pipe and brings it crashing down on the cowering creature. He hears a wet sound and feels the blood-chilling sensation of its thick, soft flesh absorbing the blow. These combine to evoke an instinctive loathing that wipes his mind of all but the urge to destroy. It's very fucked up, really, isn't it? Because that used to be Yo. Consumed by the same desperation with which he kept firing the empty gun, Koji rains blow after blow down on his enemy. After the 10th blow, it stops sobbing. After the 20th blow, it stops moving. After the 30th, it begins to feel and sound more and more like he's beating a puddle of vicious liquids. Jesus Christ, he went overkill on that. Koji doesn't stop thrashing the creature until he recovers enough of his senses to realize that whatever it might have been before is now nothing but a corpse. So would that mean Sai would also be killable then? Pipe in his hand, covered with unidentifiable fluids and filth, suddenly feels unbearably heavy. 20 years of memories in the light of the sun. They were indeed precious to him, that he should never have come to this place. Should have listened to Tambo, man. Black flames of despair rise within him, consuming fear and revulsion and pity. Only rage and hate remain. Every cell in his body cries out for vengeance, for the blood of the man who poisoned him with truth and tore him from the womb of innocence. And then Koji, slave to hate, hears the sound of someone sneaking up behind him. Koji whirls, swinging his pipe with all the force he can muster. His enemy hastily leaps back to avoid the strike, surprised by his failure to catch Koji off guard. Twisted shadows dance in the beam of the light on the floor. Readying his pipe for the next blow, Koji faces off against his second attacker.
Sakisaka Fuminori.
For this moment, Koji could never have imagined that he would ever speak his friends' names with such hatred. Great.
今の一振り、まるっきり手加減抜きかよ。
Even now, Fuminori is smiling like a smug little shit, as though the huge axe in his hands is just a sick joke.
参ったな。正直なとこ、お前はもう少し迷うもんだと思ってたんだけど。
You know, it's kind of worked against him, really, because, you know, seeing the Eldritch abomination that he always become has kind of driven him a bit mad, so he's, you know, he's gonna be swinging wildly at them.
迷うだと？俺が？貴様に？
Koji sneers too, unable to contain his contempt for the notion.
貴様、近江をどうした？筑波に一体何をした？それを考えてもまだ俺が貴様を殺すのに迷うだと。
Enough talk. Bash his brains in.
そいつは言いがかりのつけ方が逆だろ、Koji.
Fuminori growls, looking sadly at the pile of dead flesh at Koji's feet.
Kojiの分際で僕の世をひどい目に遭わせやがって。世の10倍は痛めつけてから殺してやる。
You want to talk, you piece of shit? You basically, I don't even like to use the word, but raped her. used her like some kind of sex slave, you sick fuck. The blade of Fuminori's axe carves a murderous arc through the darkness, glittering menacingly in the faint lights coming from the floor. Are you gonna dodge? Is the question. Yep. Koji raises his pipe to block the approach's swing. The heavy impact numbs his arms, but his large frame takes the blow without giving any ground. Fuminori presses the attack, delivering a second blow and a third. His axe, designed for chopping down trees, steadily and more durable than a piece of pipe. Koji found discarded on the floor. Each strike Koji blocks sends chunks of rust flying from his makeshift weapon. He can't win as long as he's on the defensive. He needs to create an opportunity to attack.
Come on!
Koji blocks a crushing downward strike, then pushes back hard before Fuminori can pull away, throwing him off balance. Fuminori stumbles backward, then plants his feet to steady himself. Taking advantage of his opponent's temporary immobility, Koji delivers a punishing low kick to Fuminori's outer thigh. Fuminori grunts and retreats, swinging his axe wildly to prevent Koji from following up with another attack. Koji, however, does not press his advantage. He just stands where he is, calmly sparing Fuminori with his spearing.
お前、喧嘩に慣れてねえな。
Fuminori rolls and comes in for another attack, but the damage to his right leg seems to be showing, slowing his swing. Easily blocking his axe with his pipe, Koji waits for Fuminori to exhaust himself. Fuminori delivers blow after heavy blow, howling savagely all the while. What he does not realize, however, is that the situation now favors composure, not brute force. When Fuminori raises his axe high for yet another attack, Koji sees that his movements have grown dull enough. Seizing the opportunity, Koji charges into Fuminori's range and grabs the haft of the axe in his left hand. As Fuminori recalls in fear, Koji swings his pipe hard at his enemy's unprotected side. He feels the crunch over ribs. The pain drives Fuminori to his knees, staring down at Fuminori's defenseless head. Koji's pride cries on lack of motion, raises his pipe high to deliver the finishing blow. Just when, of course, something wraps itself around his left ankle. Saya was obviously going to come into a save, unfortunately. This was a fair one-on-one. Koji won, but now you gotta cheat. The instant Koji panics at the unexpected sensation, something soft yet strong winds itself around his right leg and drags him to the floor before he can resist. Twists his body and tries to swing the pipe at the unseen enemy behind him. His right hand too is seized by the same flexible force. He wasn't able to feel it through his pants, but now his blood turns to ice at the cold, slimy sensation of the thing wrapped around his uncovered wrist. That monster's still alive? It's not Saya. Fuminori says encouragingly, even while kneeling on the floor, his face twisted in pain, and then there's a terrible, victorious scream. Saya. This monstrous Saya. But he struggles desperately to free his limbs from the creature's slimy grip. More tentacles swarm over his body, stealing his freedom of movement. I thought she was weaker than that, though. There's like, the way Fuminori talked about it is like she wouldn't be able to, hold down someone like Koji, but she's doing it quite easily. Nora's already driven Koji half mad. Just imagine the creature's appearance is enough to send him into a mindless panic. The scream is suddenly cut off as a slimy bend seizes his throat. Its most deadly tentacle isn't just cut off his line, windpipe, it's trying to snap his neck, and it's getting tighter. Shame there's probably not an ending where Koji wins. I mean, you can have your dreary, shitty ending, but at least give like an alternate ending where shit doesn't go that way. I hate it. My mind hazy from the pain, I watch as Saya feasts upon her slain prey. We've won. It was hard and I wasn't able to do it alone, but together we have defeated our enemy. Because you're weak, Fuminori. You couldn't win that fight because you're a weak piece of shit. You only pick on enemies that, well, I mean, he's only been in one fight, and that was pretty one-sided against a middle-aged man that was caught off guard. You couldn't win a fight to save your life without that bitch, Saya. It's like, yeah, I just call Saya bitch, because she's a freaking goddamn eldritch abomination. I hate these two. Mostly Fuminori, though, because he was once... I mean, we've never even seen the decent side of him. We've just seen the asshole side of him. Price was steep. At least 2 of my ribs are broken. At least that's a consolation prize right there. At least he broke his ribs. Hope you enjoy that, you piece of shit. It's in a sharp pain shooting through my chest every time I breathe. Good! Choke on him, you bitch! Did I read the previous line? When it's not when about alone together we have to... yeah. And then there's you. I didn't expect her to fall to Koji so easily. Suppose that, unlike Saya, she might have been unfamiliar with how to use her new body in combat. My injury must have fueled Saya's anger. Her slaughter of Koji was merciless and complete. As soon as her prey stopped moving, she sank her teeth into his vital organs and ruthlessly extinguished the last embers of life. Extinguished. Though her brittle, grisly actions were unbecoming of her girlish appearance, Saya's face covered in blood and gore was that of a victorious queen of beasts lording over her defeated foe. There was something noble and sacred about her primal ferocity that made me reluctant to serve her. I don't know how long I've been sitting here watching Saya feast. I've nearly fainted from the pain several times, to be honest. I'm not used to violence. Sure you know, you piece of fucking shit. The wounds I suffered in the car accident were worse, of course, but these broken ribs are the most severe injury that's ever been deliberately inflicted upon me. Maybe that Saya could show a little more concern for my condition, because she's already as dead as can be, so there's no reason for her to be so greedy. Suddenly realized that Saya stopped eating. Now she's lying on her back, rolling from side to side. She eaten too much? It's been several days since we've had fresh, unfrozen meat. So I understand where her enthusiasm's coming from, but still, I'm wounded here. She could give me a hand. You know, if only it turned out to be like Doctor Strange, the sequel to The Shining. It'd be like, oh yeah, you were like you're gonna consume that, and now you've got a disease that's gonna slowly but surely kill you. But that's probably not the case, is it? Because I'm preoccupied with my own selfish wants, I'm slow to realize that something is wrong. Saya isn't resting. She's trembling, in agony. Wait, what? My blood goes cold and the pain from my broken ribs is suddenly forgotten.
Saya!
I jump up, run to her side, and cradle her fallen body in my arms. Face is pale and drenched in sweat, and her half-closed eyelids and lips are quivering like she has a fever. Shivering, I mean. What's going on? She's wounded in the fights. Could the meat she just ate have been poisoned somehow? Poisoned somehow? That was Koji. Don't understand. All I know is that something terrible is happening.
Saya!
The only thing I can do is call her name with all my strength. It's weird, isn't it? Because I feel like in some ways they think, oh, this is such a sad scene, you feel so bad for them. But no, I don't feel bad for either of them, for what they've done. Anything I can do is call her name with all my strength. Saya slowly opens her eyes and gazes vacantly into my face.
Fuminori, ごめん。大丈夫だよ。ただちょっと痛いだけ。
何なんだ？どうしたんだ、サヤ？しっかりしろ！
There's no way she's fine. It's glaringly obvious that her condition is dire. Even so, I'm the only one who's panicking. Saya's expression is serene, as though she understands everything that is happening to her. She even smiles softly up at me.
びっくりしちゃった。まさか本当にこんなに早く時が来るなんて。
I might lose Saya. The thought is unbearable. Terror and despair quickly overwhelm me. Feeling of utter hopelessness that I cannot resist. Yeah, you can play your sad violins all you want. It's only make me slightly feel bad for them. If they hadn't have gone on a murderous, spree and done all the fucked up shit they've done, I'd feel a little bad. Well, I feel a little bad for them. But it's not like, oh, you break my heart. No.
怖がらないで。昼間言ったよね。これが印。みのりと私の
Wait.
たった一つの希望。
どういうことだよ。わけわかんないよ、サヤ。しっかりしてくれよ。
Sawyer answers my tearful entreaty with a smile like that of a mother comforting her child.
さやはね、頑張るって決めたの。だって のこと可愛いって綺麗だってそう言ってくれたから。
You know, it's just hard to really take anything she says seriously. After, we saw guys' research. Maybe she has developed, like, human emotions. But we can't tell if maybe she's just putting on an act this whole time. It just kind of leaves it a bit, ambiguous.
やめようよ、さや。
Whatever is happening, I can't just sit by and watch as it causes Saya such agony.
もういい、無茶しないでくれ。何をするつもりか知らないが、さえが苦しむ姿なんて見たくない。
ひどいな。
Sorry, Charlie.
分かってよ。
In a soft voice, she reveals her secrets.
生まれるんだよ。さやと海のりの子供たちが。
Wait. So, I mean, they've obviously, been, getting on quite a lot. So she's probably, pregnant with a bunch of eldritch abominations. So she's probably... This is a case of her being like some kind of weird species that has to die in order for her children to be born or some shit. I don't know. For a moment, my mind goes completely blank.
そんな、いつの間に。
私もね、びっくり。ねえ、海のり。
Saya's labored breathing speaks to the terrible pain her tiny body is suffering. Even so, she wraps her arms tightly around my neck.
外に連れてって。広いところ、空の下に。
I nod. What else can I do? If I speak, I'm afraid that I'll be unable to hold back my tears. Mustn't cry, not when Saya is facing her torment so bravely. Feels like Saya is burning up in my arms, and I fear that the terrible convulsions that shoot for her at intervals will tear her frail body to pieces. Praying for her safety, I scoop Saya up and carry her swiftly out of the ruined building. Maybe the cold air will soothe her fever, but that hope is futile. Cruelly dashed as her breathing grows shallow and she moans through bluish lips.
さや、ソロだよ。
In response to my call, she opens her eyes once more. Her gaze is cloudy and unfocused. She can no longer see. Nevertheless, Saya looks at me. I can tell that she's imagined my expression where my face should be.
約束した。これが最後のプレゼント。喜んでくれるといいな。
And then she just something just comes out of her and just splashes Fuminori's head into pieces.
嬉しいよ。もちろん。
I'm ruining the scene, but hey, fuck Fuminori, you don't get to have a moment. I hate you. Takes every ounce of my willpower, but I manage to make my voice light and cheerful. Inside Mine's eyes, I know that I'm smiling. She won't have to see my face streaked with tears.
みのり、私を愛してくれたあなたにこの星を
What?
あげます。
Saya's whisper is weak in pain, but there's ecstasy in her voice, ecstasy and joy. Her back suddenly shifts and bulges outward.
この世界はきっと綺麗な場所に
She whispers in exultation.
さやと海のりのためだけの世界に。
Then Saya blooms. How else can I describe it? Flower petals long and wide spread from her back like the wings of a newly formed butterfly. Wait, she's gonna spread the seeds around the world or some shit, isn't she? Their brilliant glow comes from the countless tiny scales that cover each petal, like particles of light.
さよならなのか。
I ask her careful to keep the sorrow out of my voice.
違う。これは 始まり
Besides, pain must already have left her, for her expression is infinitely peaceful and content.
私と文則の世界の
Selfish bastards. So you're gonna,
始
like,
まり
take over the entire world. You don't deserve to smile, Fuminori. I still hate you. Radiant myths rise on the wind, painting rivers of light in the frozen winter sky. It's beautiful, overwhelmingly painful, beautiful. Singing victoriously of their freedom, the shining seeds of life are released into this vast and fertile land. Their song heralds the coming of the new world and the destruction of the old. It is a boundless healing. It is an eternal blessing. We shall fill the world with our joy.
これからはずっと一緒だね。
And then one of his children sprouts up and kills him. Embraced inside his pitiful shrunken body, I gaze into the shining sky and let my tears flow freely. I mean, if they're gonna destroy the old world, aka the world as it is, to replace it with Elric abominations, they'd have to kill, Fuminori as well. It's like, you're from the old world. You don't belong here anymore. Die! Thank you. Thank you for this final gift, sire. Is that it? Are we done? Are we gonna see the apocalypse happen? She was worried at first how long the preserved foods in the underground storeroom would last her, but now it seems that her fears were unfounded. It's the liquor she should have worried about. By saving each drop as precious as though it were her last, she thought that she could make her flask out a little longer. But she must have been consuming more each day than she realized. Who can blame her? There's no way that she could have gotten through this without the intoxicating effects of distilled alcohol. After Ryoko chased useless emotions like hope and despair from her mind, she found herself spending the most peaceful days of her life. As resignation set in, even hate and fear had left her. Now she feels only awe for what Ogai Masahiko did and respect for the depth of his intellectual curiosity. After all, neither she nor this world had any reason left to deny his research. Down in the mountain cabin, Ryoko killed time by bringing order to the documents that Ogai had left behind. She took the scattered, enciphered papers and rewrote them in a more readable fashion, eliminating redundancies and adding indexes and tables of contents. Ryoko did not intend for anyone to read them, of course. She knew full well how meaningless her actions were. With her reason to live gone, however, having something to devote her mind to was at least some relief. And now, as the last congratulatory drops of this vodka burned their way down Ryuko's throat, all of her guy's research lies before her in a single volume. She's finally finished transcribing and annotating the last of his writings. Drawing the satisfaction of a pointless job well done, she hardly pages through the manuscript that she just completed. Shall I conclude by summarizing my theory as it currently stands? The life form that I named Sai did not appear in our universe by chance, nor even as a result of my summoning, but because of the instincts that were programmed directly into her biology. She was created to fulfill the same ultimate purpose that all life shares: reproduction. Sai and her kind procreate by spreading their seeds to other dimensions. So she's from a freaking other dimension? Did you really have to go the extra mile on the, out there scale? What is the probability that they will discover a doorway to another world? Even if they succeed in doing so, the chance of that world being suitable for reproduction must be even more minute. In order to make the most of that scant probability, evolution has granted them a certain advantage, none other than the astonishing ability that I've witnessed in Sire. How the hell would that work? It's like, oh yeah, an evolution gave you the ability to, go through dimensions just like that. To wit, they select the most prosperous life form that they encounter, take control of it, and in doing so gain dominance of that planet's biosphere. In other words, they hijack the entire species. Do this by analyzing their target's genome, then overriding its genetic code to remake it in their own image. Science biology is more than capable of inducing much dramatic and widespread mutation. I forget what they were called. This does remind me of one Lovecraft piece. I'm not sure if it was wrote by Lovecraft or someone else. It was like some alien species that like takes over the mind of people and likes to consume knowledge from all across the universe. I forget what that story was called, or what the species were called, but it kind of reminds me of that a little bit. There's a significant probability that the target species will have evolved into intelligent life. This element may be necessary to gain control of a planet's environment. Therefore, Sai and her sisters also plunder their target's culture and psychology. Her extraordinary learning ability and intellectual curiosity are likely instinctive tools that enable her to inherit the target species' entire wealth of knowledge. In fact, it may be that Sai's kind has always had its sights set on intelligent life. Perhaps they wait patiently for some foolish extra-dimensional species to gain knowledge of other worlds, and, in attempting to satisfy its curiosity, make contact with the outer universe and proceed well. All than send Sai and her kin on their dimensional journeys with only luck and their own strength to depend on, would not waiting for such contact greatly increase the chance of finding a world worthy of conquest. Just as I, having acquired the Silver Key, fancied myself an explorer of the unknown, how many intelligent life forms on all planets have thoughtlessly congratulated themselves for discovering Sai's sisters. Taken by a sudden urge to go outside for a change, Ryoko gallops up the manuscript and heads to her car, which is parked in the front yard. Still doesn't answer the question why he killed himself. Did he eventually realize the implication of his like, yeah, fuck this, I'm out? She goes up manuscript and heads to her car, which is parked in the front yard. She has completed her self-imposed final duty. There's no longer any reason for her to remain and hold up in the mountain cabin. She drives a little further up the mountains to an open place that offers a scenic view of the land below. In the early days of the change, Ryoko often came to this spot to watch helplessly over the mutating city. Oh, so it's already begun. They've already started to take over the world. Typical, isn't it? I hate stories like that. The one flaw, it's like I said, it's like you're too overpowered, man. You can't just casually take over the world like that. The one flaw in my theory comes from none other than Sai herself. After using me to learn everything she could about humanity, Sai should finally have been prepared to begin the last stage of her invasion. However, she never carried out her mission. Why? I hypothesized that Sai was an irregular among her kind. It is said that the human race's intelligence has allowed us to conquer our natural instincts. Perhaps in absorbing the human psyche, Sai accidentally inherited a disease that infects our entire species. What is human love, really? What behavior could be more of a hindrance to the efficient propagation of a species? I am reminded of how, at the end of her studies, Sai consumed vast quantities of romantic literature from all over the world. She tried to understand romance as an integral part of the human reproduction process. As a result, she might have unwillingly neutered her own unparalleled reproductive abilities. After all, she had not known love. She had come to this world to rule it in our place, and had studied humanity to fulfill that purpose. But ultimately, she could not share love with a human. Without love's blessings, Sai was unable to find the passion to fill this world with her kind. In learning of all there was to know about humanity, she herself had become hopelessly human. Weary of loneliness, she despaired of the world, how pure a maiden's soul must have been. If this hypothesis is correct, then it means that I have failed as her teacher. I cannot help but feel ashamed for having spoiled such an extraordinary organism. Sire. Next to our guy Masahiko, Ryoko now knows more than entity than anyone else about that entity. No, when the young man named Confronting Fuminori is added to the running, perhaps she only comes in third. In the end, she never encountered the creature face to face. She would like to have met it once, though. Maybe in the hour ending. Probably wouldn't end well for you. If the guy's analysis of Sai's psychology is correct, then it must have been Sakasaka who restored her desire to conquer the world. Perhaps as Sakasaka's chief physician, Ryoko played some role in bringing that lonely young man inside the gallery. In which case, she should at least have had the right to attend their wedding to handle weddings. She might even have charged them a matchmaker's fee. Yep, the world's gone to shit now. I have a dream that one day my daughter will know the blessings of love. I pray that there will come a day when her heart burns with the flames of passion and her world becomes bright and joyous once more. I recognize this background. You know, there's a fighting game called Mugen. I haven't played it in years, But I actually got Sai as a playable character in that, so I knew nothing about the story other than, you know, maybe a bit of the ending. And, you know, she has like tentacle types of attacks, and this was one of the stages I found online somewhere. So that's what that was. And that day comes, Sai, your terrible irresistible purpose will surely consume us. That your really may flourish, the whole world will know your love and be reborn. I wouldn't call, you know, destroying all life on Earth probably, it's probably not just humans, and call that love, that's not love. And be reborn. Ah, what wonders the future holds. I deeply regret I must end my life before I can see that day come. So that is the reason why the footsteps of those who would destroy my dream grow closer by the hour. Oh, it's probably because Danbo was on his trail. If I seal my lips in death, then their grasping hands will not reach you. Please forgive me, my daughter, for leaving you alone in this barren world. With the knowledge that you now possess, I know that you will find your own path. Radiance of your hard-won soul shall light the road ahead. Have no fear, have no doubt, march onwards until you reach your answer at last. And I, Sai, will dream forever in the world that you will create. You were batshit insane as well, clearly. Perhaps it is the isolated environment of the mountain air. Maybe she's just more resistant to the change. Whatever the case, Ryoko has not yet become as inhuman as the creatures wriggling around through the city below. She does not know exactly how many people on this planet could still be called human, but she's one of what must be only a handful of survivors who are left to watch over the end of mankind. And this was the ending that I mentioned I knew about, that it basically brings about the apocalypse. Which, kind of think of it, I don't think that really tends to actually happen in Lovecraft's. At least, you know, the original H.P. Lovecraft stories, you know. They'd have the cosmic horror, but it doesn't end with, you know, the apocalypse, necessarily. Seems only the ones inspired by that, you know, type of horror, the ones that, you know, go the extra mile and kill off all of humanity, just because why not? And I suppose those seeds must have travelled across the oceans as well. Because, I mean, how else would they be able to get to the other parts of the world? Can you imagine that? It's just like, no, Japan is basically the only place now that has these Eldritch abominations. Everyone else on the planet is still human, and you look at it, it's like, you know what to do, boys? Nuke it from orbit! It's only a matter of time before she changes to. It has been 3 days since she chopped off her right hand, which had ceased to function as anything resembling a human hand. But the itching that had spread across her entire back is growing more intolerable by the hour. I wonder, because there's 3 endings. This may be the true ending, for all I know. But I wonder if there's an ending where, you know, it's possible for the apocalypse not to come about, you know. Because that's a bit of a downer, isn't it? She could look in the mirror to see what she is becoming, but she doubts that it would make her happy. Ryoko thinks that maybe it would be best to just go to sleep here, with the world spread out before her. When she awakens, perhaps she will be ready to ascend the mountain and join in the city's revelries, or maybe she won't even need such resolve anymore. Whatever the case, Ryoko thinks dreamingly as she licks the very last drop from her flask. Even after I stop being human, I still enjoy the taste of booze. But what about Fuminori? Did he become one of them as well? I mean, he sees the Eldritch abominations as humans, so it probably gets along with them, I guess. That's the ultimate downer. You bastard! You did this! Just like, give me an ending where Fuminori gets a freaking bullet to the brain. He does not deserve a happy ending. Why does Fuminori's voice actor only have the one name listed? Wasn't that many characters in the story, really, was there? Getting close to 2 hours now. I hope the credits don't get to the 2-hour mark. Where the hell did my pick go? Doesn't matter. Okay, that la 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 B-A. Those are the notes. But that was annoying. The credits couldn't finish in time, could they? No, you just had to drag on. Because the recording just cut off at, the 2-hour mark. Nope. And that. So that was another ending. Maybe it was even the true ending. I don't know. Let's go back to that. All these save files. What are used for? It's a short story. You only really get a few choices. Like, I think this is like the only 2 choices or what? Call Ryoko, so yes. God damn it, this keyboard. Well, not the keyboard, but the mouse. Always freaking left click when I'm trying right click. Left click when I'm trying right click. It's annoying. Ringing over cell phone interrupts Ryoko's labors. When she sees that the caller is Tano Koji, she unwittingly breathes a sigh of relief.
Tambo da. Doushita?
Finally came to your senses after, getting brutally disemboweled by Saya.
Fuminori no ie wo shirabemashita.
Here's the thing. She obviously wanted to, be taken outside so that her seed would spread on the wind. So what if she had died indoors? Would her seed just be like, we didn't get to fly away? Even over the phone, Ryoko can hear the change in Koji's tone. This is the dull, flat voice of someone who has had all the energy beaten out of him. His first steps into Ryoko's world have already brought him face to face with something particularly gruesome. I mean, we didn't really get to fully understand what the hell Ryoko's backstory is, because she's obviously got some experience with this crazy shit. But at the same time, she didn't seem to know Saya, so... I mean, what is her backstory? She was obviously after a guy for something, but how much did she know? In consideration of his probable state of mind, she decides to say nothing. Koji continues.
Kimiは生きているうちにこの電話をかけてきたんだから、まだ致命的な間違いを犯したわけじゃない。
Ryoko says, praising Koji in her own way. Whether he's comforted or not is up to him.
ともかく、もう今度こそ間違うな。私が戻るまで動くんじゃない。
It's kind of funny when you think about it, isn't it? When all that chaos was going on in that ending, she was still in the freaking cabin, just like, gotta Now sort out all this research, you know.
君が相手にしているやつは一筋縄じゃいかない相手だ。
If I'm standing aside, deepening by the hour, Ryoko is able to make his declaration with new confidence.
みのりはもう俺が生きてることを知ってます。誰に助けられたかまでは教えてませんが、ともかく奴は警戒してるはずです。
そうか。
Koji's actions were rash, but there's no point regretting them now. The more proactive approach would be to use the pressure that he's placed on Fuminori. Ryoko's involvement is still a secret. That makes her a wild card. But now she plays it, this advantage could be decisive.
先生の方は何か手がかりをつかめましたか？
まだ十分な量とは言えない。
Ryoko answers, glancing sidelong at the loose leaf pages still scattered across the table.
そうだな。夜までには目処をつけて、夜半には東京に戻ろう。それまで君は余計なことをせず、おとなしくしていいね。
はい。
Lack of emotion in Koji's voice is actually reassuring to Ryoko. He's a machine now, able to do whatever it takes to accomplish a single goal, the extermination of Sagasaka Fuminori. It's a shame he didn't accomplish that in the ending. I mean, he basically effectively killed Saya. The way she was talking about, maybe she did technically die, but, you know, I guess she was, like, talking about living on through their children, I guess. So he accomplished that, but, you know, it also brought about the apocalypse, so not really the greatest achievement there. But, you know, at least he broke Fuminori's ribs. Hopefully the last ending will, you know, lead to more than broken ribs for him. But I doubt it. I'll probably just have to come up with my own ending, just so Fuminori finally pays for the monster he has become. He must pay for what he has done. He is even willing to accept help from Ryoko, whose principles hardly match with his. Praiseworthy change indeed. After Ryoko hangs up, she gloomily counts the stacks of loose leaf that still need to be restored. There's no time left. She's only be able to get the general picture. If she has to go into battle with only fragmentary knowledge, then there's one thing that she absolutely must decipher: the guy's biological reports, which should contain information on the strengths and weaknesses of the organism called Saya. I mean, did it even mention a weak point? All she can do now is pray for luck as she dives back into the mountains of paper. It's like I said, I've been playing this sequel to Deathmark, and it's like, I've already played through part of it so far, but, you know, when you get through a situation, just like it pops up on screen, safe, or something like that, just expect that to pop up. It's like, safe. You dodged a bullet there, Koji. Today was the first time I've driven since my accident last. Is this going to be the same? Some of the position is too dangerous to consider, given my inability to recognize roads and cars. In exchange, however, the 3 months that I've adapted my condition, I know what cars and pedestrians look like now, and even though I can't see colors, I've learned to decipher lights and turning signals. Still can't read street signs, cars, nevertheless, I managed to make it safely to our destination with Saya and you in the backseat. It was Saya who came up with the idea for a new hideout in an abandoned building she discovered while living with Dr. Agai. I mean, even the fucking sky looks monstrous, doesn't it? In the hilly suburban residential areas, it's not hard to find thick patches of undeveloped forest just off the beaten path. Saya's old playground is located in one such secluded area, unaffected by the flow of everyday life. You know what? I'm gonna call it a party here. Record session, in general, I should say. Because we're already gone over an hour. But 2 hours, actually. So let's save here. And let's go back to the main menu. And have a look for the CGs. And, you know, have to, you know, make sure that certain images are, you know, censored or out of range. Because, yes, you know, they got a bit of nudity going on. Like on this page. You can't see it, but I can. Actually, where? Yeah. Wait, not this one. That one. This is, like, closest to punishment he's had, you know, being completely alone for the rest of his life, you know, in whatever place this is, some kind of, you know, mental health hospital. Alone. But that was before he went off the deep end too badly, you know. I mean, he was losing it. So you still have a bit of sympathy for him at the time. Oh, this is interesting. There's 3 CG missing here. 2 down here. And we got these 2, so this must be the true ending. We probably already had the true ending then. Like, yay! Isn't it happy? All the human race and all of, life on Earth is being completely killed off for some eldritch abominations, and Fuminori probably remains around to be like, yeah, I am the follower of all of you, so you can't kill me. I win. Fuck you, Fuminori. Seriously. Fuck you. So, I wonder what the other ending would be like. Because there's 5 CGs left. Yeah, I definitely, no, because you see this? It's like you got 2 in between here, so you can assume these 3 are related to picking the choice to call Ryoko instead. But there's these 2 missing CGs which must play into the ending of that. I wonder if he confronts him with a pipe regardless in both endings. Poor guy, man. And that's Yo as well, so poor Yo as well. She got it. Probably the worst of anyone in all this. So that'll do for this record session. Next record session will be God knows when. It's probably get at least 4 parts out of this record session. We're not quite done yet. I imagine, considering that was probably the true ending. So I imagine it probably won't take too long to get the other ending. I could do that right now, but I'll just save it for next time because I've already recorded over 2 hours. So it'll be kind of weird though, because if that was the true ending, the Let's Play doesn't even end with the true ending. I mean, I don't know. See how the ending goes. It's just like I don't know what I'll title that part. It's just like, where you got that ending. Would it be the true ending? I wouldn't call it the good ending or the best ending, because brought about the apocalypse. That's not good. But that might be the true ending, but I can't be so sure until I've, because I'm not going to look up what the true ending is until I've gotten all the endings, so I'll just call it, I don't know. I don't know. I'll think of it whenever I edit it, I suppose. But that'll do for this record session, and we'll see you next time, viewers. See you next time.